Hey, everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be starting a project, and that project is I need a controller for Final Cut. In the past, I've been using mouse and keyboard, and that's gotten me through, but I think we can build a custom controller that will have some of the features that would, be nice to have. So I know I want a jog wheel to control forward and back. So I think we're going to end up using some rotary encoders. And since we're going to use rotary encoders, we might as well use EC11s, which have a button. So we can have, fine control of the jog wheel, push it in, hold it in, and have maybe a coarser control or vice versa. I'm going to need some buttons. So we're going to use Cherry MX keyboard switches. And depending on the number of buttons, we may have to do a matrix layout or not. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. For the microcontroller, we have a lot of options. We have Arduino based. We have feathers using CircuitPython. We can use a Raspberry Pi Pico. There's a wide variety of options available to us. And I think we're going to narrow those options down with connector type is where I think I want to go. So I'm thinking USB-C is the way to go. It's the way of the future. It's what I want. It's more securely connected to the board than most USB micros are. So let's consider only USB-C microcontrollers. It's going to leave us with basically a BitC, Raspberry Pi Pico, or a Feather Raspberry Pi Pico. Raspberry Pi Pico Feathers are out of stock at Adafruit right now, so that one's out. BitCs are $20. Raspberry Pi Picos are $3 to $5. So I think our choice is clear. We're going to use a Raspberry Pi Pico, which means we will be using probably CircuitPython. I'm most familiar with that. We could also use MicroPython or C, but let's stick with what I know. We'll go with CircuitPython on a Raspberry Pi Pico. All right, so we know we're going to use a Pico. We know we're going to want jog wheel or jog wheels. We know we're going to use some buttons. Now let's start thinking about what we want functionality-wise. We know we want at least one jog wheel, and we know we want that jog wheel to control scrubbing forward and backwards, and if we press it in, coarse scrubbing forward and backwards, or maybe the other way around. Anyway, the controller will control, or the rotary controller will control scrubbing and coarse scrubbing. Pushing it in Final Cut, what do we got? Right and left arrow shift, right and left arrow for coarse. So pushing it in will activate shift, and that can be used as a shift button for anything else. Or maybe we should do a layer switch with that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're just trying to figure out how many parts of what parts we need. So at least one jog wheel, which means at least one controller and one knob. We are going to need buttons. Marker set, range start, range end. We want a blade button. We want a delete button. We want a copy button. We want a paste button. So there's 7. Let's bump it up to 10 just to make sure we have our functionality set. Let's shoot for 10 buttons and 2 jog wheels. Each one will act as it'll have 2 functions because it'll have the normal function and hold it in, and it'll perform some other function. So there we go. Raspberry Pi Pico, 2 jog wheels, 2 EC11 controllers, and at least 10 buttons. We're not making a full-on keyboard. I'd like to keep this thing compact. So 2 rows of 5 with 2 jog wheels underneath sounds pretty good. Maybe we'll add a 3rd jog wheel just to have somewhere to go in the future. Anyway, in the next video, we'll walk through actually laying out the PCB and order the PCBs. All right. Sounds like we have a plan. Thank you guys for watching, and in the next episode of this series, building a PCB.